life coach at brookeboothcoaching.com. Let me see if I can switch my camera here. We'll just go with this, where I help Mormons with their mixed faith marriages, right? I'm going to talk about emotions today. Now, this is, I kid you not, probably one of the most important things to really learn in a mixed faith marriage. And it's also something that people just resist learning for some reason. And it's the truth about our emotions. So many people that come to me, they're afraid that if they really lean into their emotions, especially the emotions around a faith transition and a mixed faith marriage, their concern is just going to be too overwhelming, that they're going to lose control, that they're going to become mean and ugly and yucky, that they'll act immature, they'll act like a toddler, that they'll basically devolve into temper tantrums. And let me tell you the truth about your not the truth. If you are really processing your emotions, you will not end up as a toddler. It's in fact when we resist our emotions that we have our temper tantrums. We're going to talk about that. What does it mean to process versus resist? What does it mean to ignore? What does it mean to numb from our emotions? What do these things actually look like? So we know when we're doing one versus the other. Because if you were to ask anybody, they'd say, yeah, you're supposed to process. But sometimes we don't even know what that actually means and actually looks like. So here's the truth about emotions. When we're faced with an emotion, and let me tell you, in a mixed faith marriage, there's a lot. Fear, worry, anxiety, frustration, annoyance, concern about so many things. When you're faced with an emotion, you have a few choices. One is you avoid the emotion, you ignore it, you bury it. And this can look like, the whole classic sweeping it under the rug. It's not important, no big deal. Just suck it up, just move on. And I see this present with my clients as this idea of, like, it's just a phase. It's a phase they're going through where they ignore the faith transition, whether it's their own or their spouse's. And they tell them it's just a phase. The denial is often part of the avoiding and ignoring of emotions. And this is a problem because guess what happens to an emotion when it's ignored? It doesn't go away. It's there, it just goes into our body. Stress, ulcers, heart pressure, blood pressure, these are the things that happen, the consequences of avoiding and ignoring emotions. Okay. It just builds up. It just builds up. Slowly eats away at the inside of you. Another option we have with emotions is we can react. A lot of people react yelling, screaming, right? It looks like that. Sometimes I'll see ultimatums. They tend to be a consequence of reacting. The opposite side of reacting, but very, very similar, is distracting from the emotion. This is a type of numbing, and usually we engage in some sort of overdoing some behavior, overeating, oversleeping, over shopping, over Facebooking, overworking, overscheduling, anything like that. What I see too sometimes with believing spouses, over churching, that's a thing, over faith transitioning, if you're the one having the transition, over Mormon storying. There are so many ways to overdo things in your life to distract you from the emotions you're experiencing. Now, hear me on this. Overdoing things isn't bad. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you're not going to feel and process your emotions, they're not going to go away. You're not addressing them. And that can have some consequences. And sometimes overdoing things have consequences. Overeating cupcakes can have consequences, as can overspending. And so it can be helpful to just be aware of what your tendencies are and decide if that's a problem for you. It may be, and it may not be. And really, these things can be a problem when those overing behaviors get in the way of what we really want to accomplish in our lives and in our relationships. And sometimes some of these over behaviors do just that. Okay, another thing we do is we resist the emotion. This is where we push it down, similar to the ignoring, but it's more of an efforting. And what we resist persists. Sometimes I see this as when you bite your tongue and then it blows up, right? I'm not going to yell, I'm not going to yell, and then you yell, sort of the rubber band effect. And a lot of time that one gets, it's when it's a combination of the ignore and then the react. And then the fourth option is to process. Okay, this is the one I love the most, but for some reason it's really hard for us to do as humans. When I say process, we allow the emotions to be present without judgment, without criticism, without fear, without making it a problem. You feel the emotion in your body. You're present with the feeling. You feel the feeling and you let it be there. You let it be there. Okay. And the truth is, when we process the emotion, and I'm talking, these are big emotions that come with a faith transition: fear, betrayal, hurt, agony, really, despair. And when you feel these things, rejection, we often want to push away from them because we don't like to feel these emotions. Problem is, when we push away from them, it doesn't actually make them go away. What we resist persists. When we can allow them and accept them and feel them, then they can pass through and pass beyond. Excuse me, sorry about that. And one of the powerful things about processing is when we choose to process on purpose, we are acting consciously and intentionally. We decide then how we want to show up. We're in control of how we show up. We don't have to worry about the explosive behavior and that type of things, because there's no tantrum and no loss of control when emotions are processed. Okay, this is one of the skills I teach to all of my clients who come to me in my coaching practice, because we're all humans and we all have emotions, and our marriages are just the game field of emotions as far as I'm concerned. And that's how it's supposed to be. That's how we want it to be. We want to experience love and devotion and compassion. But what happens with emotions is it's a mix, right? We experience love and we experience fear. We experience devotion and we experience annoyance. We experience compassion and we experience frustration. That is the way of life, and it's okay. And so often when we can just accept that our lives are full of beautiful emotions and not so beautiful emotions, and we can accept them both and allow them to be there and process through, we show up so differently for our marriages. We're not indulging in behavior that is distracting us from our marriage. We're not avoiding and ignoring important things in our marriage. We're not using all of our energy and focus to resist from emotions, but we're able to use that energy and focus to build our marriages and nurture our marriages. It's a very significant thing. If you have a lot of very strong emotions in your mixed faith marriage and you just don't know what to do with them all, they're just too much, too fast, and it's just overwhelming, you need to get a coach, and you need to figure out how to really get a handle on these emotions and let them be present and process through them. A coach can work with you on this and help you work through this so you can go to a place of more consciousness and power and not be reacting from your emotions, but instead choosing very much how you want to act and feel your emotions. Okay, so if you find that you're giving a lot of ultimatums in your marriage, or sulking a lot, or yelling a lot, or doing things you didn't used to do in your marriage and you can't figure out why, you know there was a faith transition and now you're acting like a totally different person, it could simply because you're just having very different emotions, not as used to processing and feeling this new group of emotions. You can figure it out. If you need help, reach out to me. Just message me on Facebook, or you can go to my website, brookeboothcoaching.com, and let's get on the phone and talk about your mixed faith marriage and see if coaching is a good fit for you. In February of 2022, I'm starting another group program This could be exactly what you need. I will teach a lot about emotional processing and a myriad of other really powerful, useful tools to implement in your mixed faith marriage. If you think you want to be part of that group, it's 12-week intensive. Message me, let's get on a call, and I'll tell you all about it. All right, wishing you the best.